quick reminder how to do some rounding and a little bit of a boost for you, jumpstart on this Pizzazz worksheet B25, all about rounding. Okay, first off, remember on all these Pizzazz, there's a topic down here, and you want to circle that topic if you have it printed. Circling that topic, I'm looking at the word rounding decimals, and when I circle the topic, I learn the language of math a little bit better. It makes it a little bit easier when you get to tests and stuff like that. You know not just how to do it, but what it's called. Anyway, let's review real quick my cryptic steps to rounding. What does that mean? First step. Let's see, I got a P and a V. What could that stand for? Place value. And there's an underline. That's the step. I underline the place value. Very first thing you do is you underline the place value. Let's look at this first question. Round to the nearest tenth. Now, if I can write on the paper, I'm underlining directions too. Important words in the directions. All these are going to be rounding, but this is to the nearest tenth. I underline the word tenth. I remember .ths. Okay, and that teaches us a couple things. One, everything after a decimal, when you write in words, ends in ths. Right? And the first two steps, first two spots, the T stands for tenths. The H stands for hundredths. That's going to help us with about 95% of the 6th grade rounding in decimals, right? So I have tenths, hundredths. Sorry, the third place is thousandths. Doesn't start with an S, but the first two is going to help us a lot. So if I'm looking at the tenths, I'm looking for the digit directly to the right of the decimal. That helps me. I can get an assembly line going here, right? I can be a machine in math here, right? Just to the right of the decimal. I'm underlining the place value. The 4 there, what's to the right of the decimal here? That 1, what's to the right of the decimal here? The 7, right? Now, I'm going to the decimal, then moving. So when you go find your location for decimals, okay, don't start at the right side of the number and work back. Don't start at the left and work to the right. Start at the decimal. That's where you find where you're at. That's where it's called orient yourself, okay? So what's to the right of the decimal here? A 6, right? Uh-oh. You could do it wrong and get it right because they're all 6s, but right to the right of the decimal, okay? And I can go on. Do all these, right? That's what I recommend you do. Find the place and then underline the place in the whole group of numbers. I'd do all 10 if I were you, okay? So what's the next step? Let me see. That's kind of a weird looking word. Looks like eyeballs in there. Ooh, the eyeballs are looking this direction. Oh, there's an arrow there. Yeah, look to the right. And again, I recommend after you've underlined the decimal or the place value, whatever it is, draw a little arrow to the digit directly to the right of what you just underlined. Once you've done that, you have two choices for your answer. Either the number you underline stays the same, or it goes up by 1. Everything to the left stays the same, and everything to the right becomes a 0. And you'll find everything to the right on decimals, you get to chop it off. Okay? So, is that 3? Oh, we don't know how to decide if it's going to get bigger or not. Next step. Ooh, that's a weird cryptic step. What does it mean? Check to see. Is it 5 or bigger than 5? Yes, place value gets bigger by 1. No, the place value stays the same. Is that 3, a 5 or bigger? No, it's smaller. So what happens? Place value stays the same. The 4 stays the same. So this becomes 6.4. Now you notice when I did that equal sign, I put little squiggly lines. That's a way in math of writing about. 6.43, 6 and 43 hundredths, does not equal 6 and 4 tenths, but it's about 6 and 4 tenths. So when you do rounding, start doing that. Okay? You'll start learning to write like a mathematician, right? That little squiggly equal sign. Here we are on the next one. I underlined the 1. I looked to the right and I found a 9. Is that 9 5 or bigger? Yes. What happens? Place value gets bigger by 1. That 9, uh-oh, I did it again, just like that. I underlined the 1. The 9 is 5 or bigger. The 1 is my place value. The 1 is going to get bigger by 1. It turns into a 2. Remember, everything to the left stays the same, so the 1 and the 7 stay the same. 1 and 7, but the 1 turns into a 2, and I'm chopping off everything else, right? If it wasn't after decimal, I'd be put that 9 would turn into a 0, right? That 3 would turn into a 0. Okay, I'll do one more for you on this one, then I'm going to do one of these, and then we're going to move on. 3 and 751 thousandths. I underline the 7 because that's the 10ths place right next to the decimal. I looked to the right and found a 5. Is a 5 or bigger? Yes. So the number I underline, the place value, gets bigger by 1. The 7 is what I underline. That turns into an 8. So 3 and 751 thousandths turns into 3 about and 8 tenths, right? All of my answers should end at tenths on this one. The next one is saying round to the nearest hundredth or cent. Hundredth, that's the second space next to the decimal. So I'm going 2 spots over. Decimal 1, 2. That middle 3 is what I underline. Draw an arrow to the right. 0.65. The 5, that first one is the hundredths place. I draw a little arrow. 24.79006. That 9 is the second number, and draw an arrow to that 0. All right. This is how I do all 10 of those. Underline, draw the arrow. All right. And on this one here, is that 5 here that I'm looking at to the right of this 5? 5 or bigger? Yes. So that 5 I underline gets bigger by 1. So everything to the left, the 0 and the 6 stay the same. But that 5 I underline, since it has a 5 to the right of it, it's going to get bigger by 1. 66 hundredths. Okay? Now, this next part, it says round to the nearest whole number or nearest dollar, right? In a dollar, right? That's to the left of the decimal, right? That's in the ones place, like a $1 bill, right? So I'm finding the decimal, go to the left of it, underline it, draw an arrow. Find the decimal, go to the left, underline it, draw an arrow. Find the decimal, go to the left, and again, I do all 10 of these, right? You get an assembly line going, it happens fast, okay? Which one do you want to do? 21, 22, 23? Michael Jordan fans say, let's do 23. Gotta love Air Jordan, right? All right, so I underline a 0. I look to the right. Is that a 5 or bigger? No, it's just a 0. So what happens? The number I underline stays the same. Everything to the left stays the same. Everything to the right becomes zeros. So this becomes 30. And that's your answer. All right? So what do you do after you find your answer? Right? You go down and find your answer, and directly under it, all of these answers are going to be here. All of these answers are going to be here, right? So don't look over here for these answers, right? So 6 and 4 tenths, I go down and find it. There it is. There's an E next to it, okay? And then I write the letter of the answer in the box containing the number of the exercise. So there's an E, and that was number 1. I'm going to go find number 1 and put an E. Number 2 is 17 and 2 tenths. I'm looking for 17 and 2 tenths. There it is. There's an H. I'm going to put an H next to that and an E next to this just so I can find out where I found it. The 2 is going to be an H. Get it? All right. Enjoy this joke. I love it. What did George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Christopher Columbus all have in common? Oh, you're going to love this one. Enjoy.